Picture this, the sound of flutes and other instruments accompanied by the joyful shouts in the temple in the Beis Hamikdash times where people gathered for the time of Sukkot. In this video, we are going to transport you back in time of the temple times where they would get together and celebrate Sukkot like you've never seen before. You're not going to want to miss out on this. Have you ever wondered why you've never experienced ultimate true joy? Today, through the Mishnayis, we're going to explore the ancient celebration of the simcha Beis Hashoeva, how it was done, and discover why it was the ultimate source of joy, of happiness in the temple times, and how you can get some of that simcha too. So let's discover the secret of this simcha and what it achieved in the words of the Mishnah of chapter 5, Mishnah 1 of Sukkot. Hechalel, the flute, chamisha v'shisha, was 5 or 6 days. So this flute could be blown for 5 or 6 days. Let's have a look at the Batanora straight away. Hechalel, harbe minei zemer hayasham. There were many types of musical instruments there. V'al shem shechalel nishma koiloi yosem min ha'acherim. And because the Khalil, the flute, was heard more, it was louder than the other instruments, Nikra Kolam al Shmai. All of the instruments are referred to as the flute, but it included other instruments as well. And then we said Chamisha v'Shisha. It could have been 5 or 6 days. Pa'amim Chamisha, sometimes 5. Pa'amim Shisha, sometimes 6 days. For example, Chal Yomtov Rishon Lios b'Shabbos. If the first day of Yomtov fell out on Shabbos, Hechalel Shisha, the flute would be blown for 6 days. We've got 7 days in a week, and the first day of Yomtov fell out on Shabbos, so therefore it's only 1 day that we could not blow the flute, because you're not allowed to blow a musical instrument on Shabbos, so therefore we'd only lose 1 day, so 7 minus 6 equals 1, so 1 day is out, so it was for 6 days. Chal b'sha'ah yemei hachol. If, however, the first day of Sukkot fell out on one of the other days of the week, let's say Sunday, for example, if it fell out on Sunday, hechol chamisha, the flute would be blown for 5 days. Why? Because it's not allowed to be blown, number 1, on Shabbos, and number 2, if it fell out on a Sunday during the week, so it wouldn't be allowed to be blown on a Sunday either. So that's now 7 minus 2 is only 5 days left that we can blow the flute. Lefi she'eina doicha le'as Shabbos, because it doesn't override Shabbos, v'le'as Yomtov, and not the Yomtov, even if it falls out during the week. This is the flute of the Beis Hashoeva. It doesn't override Shabbos, it doesn't override Yomtov. Let's have a look at the Meleches Shlomo. Beis Hashoeva. What is this Beis Hashoeva? Of Yerushalmi, in Gemara Yerushalmi, it says the word Shoeva. Shemisham Shovin Ruach Hakodesh. Because from this place they would draw down divine inspiration. It's a very, very spiritual, lofty level. You could prophesize, you could see things that were going to happen in the future, and you had a very deep and very high connection to Hashem that you normally couldn't reach without this rejoicing. That the divine presence rests on you through reaching this joy. Because it's written in a pasuk, it was when the musician played his instrument, etc. When Elisha the prophet heard this music, he became so happy that he reached Ruach Hakodesh. Or Maisi Uvda Diyonah ben Amitai, he brings in the Yerushalmi this story of Yonah ben Amittai, Yonah the son of Amittai, Shahima Ole Regalim. He was one of the people that went to Yerushalayim for the high holidays, or Besimchas Beis Hashoeva Shar Sa'alav Shchina, and in the Simchas Beis Hashoeva, in the rejoicing of the water drawing, through the celebration, he was so happy, he became so high that he merited that the Shechina would rest on him, and he reached divine inspiration. This is brought down by Tosfos in the Gemara Bavli. It quotes the Yerushalmi. So through joy, you can reach unbelievable spiritual heights of Ruach Hakodesh. So the key to reaching this high level is through being simcha, through being happy. And we said Simchas Beis Hashoeva in the Bartanura, Levi Shekol Simcha Zu Al Shiva Samayim. This whole joy, this whole rejoicing was the drawing of the water, Shal Nisach, of the Nisach Hamayim, of the water pouring that we were going to pour, that we discussed in the last Mishnah, the water pouring on the Mizbech, on the altar. So Karalos Simchas Beis Hashoeva, it's called the Simcha of the house of the water drawing, Al Shem V'Sha'avtem Mayim B'Sasim, because you have to draw the water from the Shiluach with joy. They drew it with joy, and therefore it's called the rejoicing of Beis Hashoeva. And what is this Beis Hashoeva? It says the Tosfos Yomtov, Shel Beis Hashoeva, of the house of drawing, Shem HaMokom Shahayu Mesaknin L'Simcha. This was the name of the place that they fixed to have joy, to celebrate. So it wasn't actually at the Shaluch or on the Mizbech specifically, but it was the Ezras Nashim, it was in the women's court. It says in the Tiferes Yisrael, Kach Nikra Shem HaMokom Sheba Ezras Nashim, so is called the name of the place in the Ezras Nashim. That's where they had the celebration, rejoicing, the fact that they drew the water and they poured it with joy. They would celebrate this in the women's court. Shemesaknin Oisa V'Kama Meni Tikunin, they fixed it up with many rectifications that they fixed up over there. Lesimchas She'ivas Mei Nisuch Shebachag, for the rejoicing of the drawing of the water pouring of the festival. Amro, they said, Kol mi shaloi ra simchas Beis Hashoeva, anyone who did not see the rejoicing of Beis Hashoeva, loi ra simcha miyomov, never saw joy in his days. Because this simcha was so powerful, if you didn't see the simcha at the Simchas Beis Hashoeva, you've never seen anything like it before. To such an extent that people reached Ruach Hakodesh. So today we learned that the flute was blown for 5 or 6 days, depending when the first day of Yomtov fell out. Either it was on a Shabbos, making it 6 days, or if it fell out during the week, it would be 5 days. And we also learned that the place where the joy, the celebration was done was actually in the women's court, where they fixed things up over there to make it ready for celebrating the simcha, the joy of the water pouring. And it was called Beis Hashoeva, the place of the water drawing, because that was the place that they celebrated the celebrations for the water drawing. And it was said that anyone who didn't see the joy of the Beis Hashoeva, where they did the celebrations, never saw joy in his life. It was such a high level of joy that we said that you could reach Ruach HaKodesh, that you could reach divine inspiration, where you could prophesize, you could see things that were going to happen in the future, and you reached a very, very lofty level of spirituality, of godliness. And how can we get some of this simcha in our life today? There was the third Lubavitcher Rabbi, Menachem Mendel Schneerson. He was also called the Tzemach Tzedek, and he had a follower, he had a chassid, Reb Michal Berliner, and he came to him in deep trouble because his son was very sick, and he came for a blessing, for a bracha from the Tzemach Tzedek. And the Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, told him, arouse within you the koyach habitachon, arouse within you the power of faith that everything's going to be alright and it's going to work out just fine. And he said to him his famous words, tracht gut, wird sein gut. If you think good, it will be good. Reb Michal Berliner went away and he put into practice what he was told. He pushed away all the negative thoughts and was just thinking positive thoughts. My son's going to be okay. My son's going to be okay. He kept on telling himself that. He kept on thinking positive thoughts, and it was good. It worked out well. And this creates a guide for us as human beings. When we get in trouble and stuff doesn't go our way, we need to turn things around, fill our mind up with positive thoughts. Sure, we need to do everything that we can to make sure that it works out. And sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't. But at least let us have the positive thoughts to give ourselves the best chance to make things turn around in an open way that it should be good. So next time you're in trouble, the lesson is Trach gut, werd sein gut. I don't know if you'll get to Ruach Hakodesh. I don't know if you'll get to what they did at the Simcha Beis Hashoeva, but your life's going to be a lot better.